Thank you for joining the September 5th, 2019 VOLTHA call. Just a reminder that these meetings are public and recorded, and we do post them to YouTube after the meeting. So keep that in mind during any presentations that we have today, demos, and discussion. And with that, we'll go ahead and start with today's agenda. First on, we have a demo from Dinesh on the Redfish Importer. And then after that, we'll do the review of the new JIRA since we were not able to do that to Tuesday. So thanks for everyone's patience on that. We'll cover those today. So let me go ahead and Dinesh, I'll give you presentation right. And you should have them in just a moment.
Can you see?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I will start my demo with the presentation. This is the block diagram of the how importer fits in the SEBA pod and its major components. So the orange box is the device where we are running the Redfish agent, and Redfish Importer is a container running in the one of the container running in the SEBA pod. It gets the information of the device from the name, and then it collects the data from the device and puts it on the Kafka bus. And once it's put on the Kafka bus, exporter goes and collects the data from the Kafka bus and gives it to GraphNut for the dashboard display. So this is general architecture of how importer fits into the SEBA pod. Now I will show the demo setup, what I have. So to test the demo, I have importer as a container running in the SEBA pod, and then in another window I have a program demo test. Since it's not yet integrated with the name and exporter modules, what I have done is I have created a demo test program which creates the gRPC client and Kafka consumer, and importer has a gRPC server and HTTP server and Kafka producer. So it will collect the data from the device and it will put it on the Kafka bus, and this demo test program will print all the data collected periodically by the importer. So the first window I have, it's the importer running. I'm displaying the logs of the importer container which is collecting the data. And the second window is the demo program, which is basically a Kafka consumer, which is collecting the data put on the Kafka bus and dumping it on the screen. So, this is the third. Another thing is the event generation. Whenever the events are generated, the device will do the post to the HTTPS server, and importer will be listening on that HTTPS server, and once it gets the event, it will put it on the Kafka bus as well. So we can have a demo of that. So this is a third window where I can simulate the events. So this is collecting the data and putting on the Kafka bus, and this is the demo test is printing it on the screen. So let me simulate the events. So Redfish allows you to simulate the events. So the current implementation is supporting three types of event: resource added, resource removed, and alerts. So I will now simulate the event. So when I simulated the events, these three events got generated, which are the test events. Actually, these events are not happening. It's resource add, and then this is the event type is resource removed, and this event type is alert. So that anybody has any question, that was the main demo of it. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Dinesh, we are using this importer to simulate the event. So what resources we are adding to the device?
No, right now, for the demo, I'm using the test subscription, which Redfish server allows you to simulate the event. So we are not adding any device or any resource or removing any resource. We are just creating a test event to test.
Okay.
Whether that type of event gets generated or not. Actually, my setup is, I forgot to explain my setup, test setup, where I have AWS server on which I'm running on the AWS server. I have Sebab in the box install, and as a Seba pod, and importer is one of the container of it. And then from there is a VPN tunnel to the Taiwan lab where the device is actually residing, and then I'm connecting to that. So right now I cannot show you if I remove the fan, the event gets generated or not. That's being tested. Any other question?
Okay. And one more thing I just wanted to ask is on the Redfish, do we have you changed anything on the Redfish to get the optical parameters or anything of that sort? Any parameters we are retrieving, or whatever is available with the PSME, the same thing we retrieve, or is there anything more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can add anything for importer. If we need, we can add. But right now, we are just collecting whatever PSME gives us.
Okay.
And Ganesh, if you want, I can send you the display of what we are collecting for the events and data, if you want to know.
Yes, Dinesh, that will help.
Yeah, sure.
I think Scott wants to talk something. I see his message. I don't know if nobody is able to hear.
Yeah, I'm not able to hear him either. Scott, maybe you can type, if it's short, you can type it into chat so we can get an answer. And then meanwhile, do we have any questions from anyone else? Okay, so I see in chat, Scott, it looks like your question was already along the lines of what Taskin asked about, or related to optical data. So I think we are okay. All right.
And if you later on have any questions, I'm available on Slack and email. I can answer those questions on VOLTHA, Discuss, or anything else.
Thank you, Dinesh. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Dinesh. I'll go ahead and take presentation rights back.
Sure. Thank you very much. I'm sorry this got delayed while because of the lab issues.
No, glad we were finally able to do it. So appreciate everyone's patience. And Dinesh, thank you for working through those issues and doing the demo for us today. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay, and hopefully everyone can see my screen again.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go over the new JIRAs that have come in over the last week and a half. So starting with 1885. And let me do a quick refresh as well. Okay, starting with 1885. This one was a new defect that was raised as a blocker, and it is shown as resolved at this point. Read-write core does not wait until after the other core in the pair completes a request, and we have a detailed description captured by Ken, and it looks like this one has been merged into 2.1. And Ken, I'm guessing since it's shown as resolved now, it's been the testing is completed master as well?
Yeah, that's correct. It's already merged in master as well.
Great, thank you. Okay, any questions on this item? We'll move on to our next. Vol 1886, document tooling to view protobuf encoded Kafka. This one is from Scott. Tool needs to be assembled that allows developers to view protobuf enabled Kafka messages. These include KPIs, events, and core adapter messaging. If there are existing tools that are suitable, then we should use those rather than writing our new ones.
Yeah, can anyone hear me this time?
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Yeah, I reset mics and headsets and all kinds of things. Yeah, this is, so yeah, we were looking for something that would allow us to view the protobuf encoded Kafka messages. And so David and I, we worked on this one morning together, kind of playing with Kafka Cat and ProtoC together, and we kind of came up with a way to do it. But it doesn't do a real good job of viewing the bus between the cores and the adapters. So we think because of the way those messages get nested in that bus that we may actually have to write some custom tooling at some point. But nobody is currently asking for that ability, so we kind of haven't prioritized it. It just seems one of those things that comes up from time to time when someone wants to debug something. It would be nice to have that tooling. So maybe after ONF Connect, I'll take a look at it.
Okay, I'm thinking probably I should move it to an issue, not a defect.
Yeah, it should have been a story.
Let me change that. Okay. Any questions from the group? And Scott, it sounded like you're probably going to try and start looking at it in a couple weeks. Do we want to target this one for 2.1, or should we leave it kind of as a future item right now?
Yeah, I would like to take a look at it when I get back from ONF Connect. So I would, yeah, I'm open to David's opinion on this too, since he and I were kind of looking at this together. But I would like to target it for 2.1, I think.
Okay, any other questions? Then we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, Vol 1887, another defect that was raised medium priority. Error when enabling OLT, adapter not registered for device type OpenOLT. And we do have a description and some captures down there of the issue. This one was reported by Andy, and it looks like Abhilash is working on this item currently. It looks like it's in progress, so probably we'll move it into the active sprint. And let me see, do we have Abhilash on the bridge? I don't see that. And do we have Andy on the bridge? I don't think so. Okay, so I think the latest comment here from a couple days ago is that hasn't been able to be reproduced yet by Abhilash. So we may be putting this sort of in a monitor state till it's find a way to reproduce it reliably. So any feedback from the group or questions we need to take back? I don't know if anyone else has been looking at this issue besides Andy and Abhilash. Okay, then let me go ahead and move on to the next item, Vol 1888. Another defect raised, not enough info in ONU dying gasp event to identify the ONU. And it looks like this one is assigned to Dev Malia. And in the dying gasp event, we have ONU ID and INTF ID. And the combo of those can be the same for two ONUs connected to two different OLTs. So the suggestion is possibly considering using the serial number as well to identify the ONU. Any comments or questions from the group? Okay.
Does this apply to any other ONU related alarms? It seems like we should have that. We should have whatever identifying information comes in these alarms should be standardized. So I'm surprising that one would be missing necessary information and others are not missing it.
I think I already have passed the serious number from OMCI alarm to the event. I think we already have.
Do we have anyone from Radisys on that's familiar with this work in progress?
Hi, Julie. This is Amit, but I don't have a very good phone connection.
Okay. I do see we do have this patch out there, and who do we have on there? So Matt, Ken, you're on here. Lynn, should we add you to the reviewer list, or if you want, you can give a comment in JIRA. That may be just a good point.
Yeah. Julie, the
Yes.
point about this issue is that when the ONU is rebooted, the event that is being generated by the adapter is not putting in the identifying the ONU.
You're fading out.
Are you able to hear me now?
I caught it. Yeah, I caught about half of what you said.
Yeah, basically the serial number of the ONU is missing in the event, because of which it can't be identified by systems outside of VOLTHA where the events are landing up at.
Okay, and Lynn, I think you said you thought that this was already, oh, let's see. I think I know. Okay, so Lynn, you were talking about the OMCI messages, right? And this is a PLOM message. So is that where we have the disconnect maybe?
This would come from the OLT itself. So the OLT itself.
Yeah.
I think today all it says is port 1, ONU2. So
yeah,
I mean, I can see how this.
Sorry, I have a lot of delay on my line today. I apologize for talking over people. Sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm just saying that the messaging from here would be different from the ONU. This would be from the OLT itself if the ONU completely disappears, including all OMCI disappearing. So the messaging here might be missing something that you wouldn't normally, or you would possibly see in OMCI if you still had OMCI.
Right. Well, dying gasp, I think, is sent up over the PLOM channel if the ONU can support dying gasp. So it would come in as the alarm from the ONU, but not over OMCI, over the PLOM channel. So yeah, so this is a little different than the other issues.
I mean, this is probably simple enough to verify. The -1 on Jenkins though is usually a threshold of checking things, at least for me. So if there's an issue with linting or static checks or unit tests, typically I'll skip over it. So if that could be addressed, then we could look at it. I guess try
so
it
that's
out.
the open OLT adapter.
Yeah.
So there's a problem with the tests on that. David has solved that, I think, in 1899 or something like that. There's later thing. There's a problem with the QA test there because more advanced tests were enabled for source code checking, and they're not passing.
So that has been fixed, or is that still an issue?
There's a patch for it. We're going to get to it eventually, but then everybody needs to rebase on that, and then the code should be able to go in.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, in the meantime, we can look at it, but yeah, if anything has a -1 on it from Jenkins, I don't know if anyone really pays attention to it. So that might be why no one's really looked at it.
Okay. So I've gone ahead and mapped it into the active sprints since we do have a patch out there in Garrett, and moved it to in progress. And then once that kind of moves forward in Jenkins, then we'll get the reviews taken care of. Okay. Any other questions on that before we move on? All right. Next, we've got vol 1889, a new defect as well. Medium priority packet out gets forwarded even on error. Ken, it looks like you opened and are working on this item.
Yeah, this one is already submitted. It's done, actually.
It's done? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, it's not showing up as merged for me in Garrett. Maybe it's not.
Oh. Because it has because I had one that had abandoned, and there's another one, so it took the abandoned one instead of the newer one.
Oh, okay. And I only see one of the screen I have. So okay. So let me go ahead and move this one to active sprint. And then you said we can go ahead and move this one to done as well.
Yes, that's correct.
And let's see. I have to get used to the new screen. Doing it as fixed, I think, is what we're using for this. Is that right, Zach?
That's correct. Fixed for bugs, done for tasks.
Ah, got it. Thank you. All right. Then moving on to the next, vol 1890, another defect. Flow decomposition does not work when standby core takes over device. Opened by Kartik, and Ken, it looks like this one you are working on.
Yeah, it's in progress, actually.
Okay, so let me move that to in progress. We'll go ahead and put this in the sprint as well, since it's in progress. And we do have the detailed description. Any questions from the group? All right. Then next we have vol 1891, provide mechanism to allow custom labels to be added to deployments or pods. David, this is one of yours, and it shows it's in progress.
This one's actually merged, I believe.
Ah,
should be
okay.
done.
Let me go ahead and change that then. Okay, thank you. And then next, vol 1892, support adding labels to enable KubeMonkey for VOLTHA, another of David's.
Also done.
All right.
This should be resolved.
Sorry, hit the wrong button.
As
Sorry
well.
about that. Any questions from the group?
No, that's okay.
David? Okay. Next, vol 1893, another defect. VOLTHA OpenOLT adapter Docker build process broken. Zach, this is one of yours, shows it's in progress.
Yeah, there was a patch that removed this, that changed the OpenOLT agent to not build the Python version and just build the Go version. When that got introduced, it made the Docker build target not work, which caused builds for new things to not be created. This is a really simple patch that changes that, but it got cut up in the problems of the VOLTHA OpenOLT agent adapter repo not building because SCA checks were enabled, which I did check. That's the 1899 that I've been working with David. Well, he's been doing the heavy lifting to get those to pass. So that if you see things that are failing on the OpenOLT agent adapter, that should get resolved once we get that dealt with.
Okay. Thanks, Zach. Any questions from the group? All right, next, another defect, vol 1894, KV store update duration is long. Mahir, looks like you opened this and is being worked by Rohan.
Yes, correct. This test is done by 120 ONUs bringing up together with 20 milliseconds interval. And I saw that some of the ONUs are failed. So when looking at the logs, I saw that the KV store updates and gets are taking too much time. There's because these updates and gets are done by mutex logs. A lot of queries are waiting for the same log, so acquiring log is taking too long time.
Thank you, Mahir. You have any questions from the group? Okay, and Rohan, I think we have you on the call. Is this one that you're planning to work on in the current sprint? Looks like you're trying to talk, but I'm not able to hear you. I see your mic active, but I can't hear you. I apologize for that. Okay. I'm guessing since we do have an assignee that this one is going to be targeted for 2.1. Any other thoughts from the group? You can always change it if I'm wrong. Okay, and then I'll leave it outside of the sprint now until I get confirmation on whether Rohan is going to be working on it during this sprint. So feel free to move things in yourself. If you are working on it, that's perfectly acceptable. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next item then. 1895, facilitate flows replay for device that accepts bulk flow. And it looks like we do have a patch out in Garrett for this item. Any comments or discussion from the group? Okay, let's go ahead and move on then. Go to 1896, soft ONU reboot using Edge Core, OLT. And Danielle, it looks like you're working on this item. And this is executing the reboot from the CLI for VOLTHA. Okay, I'll go ahead and move on to the next item, 1897, hard ONU reboot using the Edge Core OLT. And we do have the description there with some checks in there. And this one currently is actually unassigned. Any questions from the group? And I do see notes from Danielle here that we need to find someone else who can take a look at this one because we need physical access to some of the hardware. So Matt, I know you're on the, pardon?
I may end up taking this one just because you have to actually either physically power off the ONU or pull the fiber out. So
yeah, okay. So if you do, feel free to map it over to yourself.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the next then. 1898, create a Golang CI lint test that posts comments to Garrett. And Zach, it looks like this is one of yours.
Yeah, this is for some of the code quality. We're thinking of using this Golang CI lint tool and making it so that it posts any things that it finds that are wrong in a patch set to Garrett and making the reviews a little easier. We're going to test it out before we make it a gating test.
Any questions from the group? Okay, then we'll go on to 1899, modify OpenOLT adapter so that it passes Golang CI lint tests, and this is in progress. We had a little discussion before. We do have the patch out there in Garrett for review.
Yep, need another +1 and then we can merge it and cherry pick it.
Okay, thanks, David. Let me see, do we have Rish? And we have the +1 from Zach so far. Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the group? We'll move on to 1900. Address lint SCA issues in VOLTHA repo. And this one was opened by David. We do have a report attached, it looks like. Okay, any comments or discussion?
Just that there's some interesting information in the report, and it looks like there may be a significant amount of dead or unused code in the repository, so it'd be good to clear that out.
Thanks, David. And this one, we don't have an owner yet, so if there is anyone who is interested in taking a look at this, feel free to speak up, or you can self-assign it to yourself as well. Okay, next we've got vol 1901. Need to set the Kafka host for AF router D in the API server. And David, this is another of yours. It looks like you'll be working on this item. Any questions from the group? Okay, let me do a refresh, see if anything else came in. I don't see any new issues at the moment. Okay, so I think that covers the new issues. Let me go back to the agenda. I probably will, since we have some extra time, I probably will take a few minutes to chat with folks on the bridge about a couple specific JIRAs that I'd seen some comments on. But before that, I'll make a note here that next week we do have ONF Connect. So I'll be canceling the Tuesday and Thursday meetings since a good number of the people that attend will be involved in ONF Connect. So I'll pull those off of the CORD calendar, the public calendar, and cancel next week's meetings. And then before I go into seeing if we have folks on to talk about a couple specific JIRAs, let me ask if anyone has additional topics they'd like to discuss with the larger group today.
Yeah, this is Scott. Just real quickly, I wanted to give a status update on the wall clock API proposal that we've been working on. Yeah, sorry for not getting on that on the agenda. Been busy with ONF Connect prep. But so I believe we have representatives from both DT and TT are looking at the proposal and are going to give us feedback. So yeah, AT&T was kind enough to add their operator requirements to the docs, and the others are looking at it as well. So we're making progress on that, and yeah, hopefully after we're all back from ONF Connect, we'll have some information gained from the operators on that. And then also open for any questions if anyone has any questions on that effort. Our brigade meeting for this week and next has been canceled, so anything that anyone wants to discuss in the interim, we could do right now, or you can catch me on Slack or email.
Thanks, Scott. Any questions for Scott at the moment? Okay, so let's go, let me change over to our active sprint here and just make a quick call for these. Are there any of the active sprint items that someone would like to take a specific look at while we are on the bridge today? Okay, then I think I'm going to go into just a few specific issues that I'd noted. I'd seen some comments coming back and forth I wanted to take a look at. And so if people are not interested in that, feel free to drop. But Aishwarya, I think I saw you on the bridge. Are you on the audio? And then Chip also. So I had a question. So we had put this one as resolved last week, I think, and then I saw some additional comments come in from Aishwarya. So I'm not sure if this one is something that needs to be reopened, or you had a question to Chip related to whether or not some of these indications being published, if that depends on the hardware. And Chip, I'm not sure if you saw that, because I think this is still going to your old address, not your current email address.
Yeah, I'll look it up and try to respond this morning.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's, I don't know if there's another profile for you I should be mapping things over to. I haven't figured that out yet. So if there is, let me know, and okay, I'll try and do that. But I wasn't sure at the moment.
Yeah, I think I got most of the Garrett stuff done, but I think JIRA might still have some headaches.
Okay. Okay, so Aishwarya, hopefully we'll have a response for you a little later. So Chip, thank you for taking a look at that. Aishwarya, anything you want to bring up specifically with the larger group?
Not really, but it was about the Ethernet status. Like it can be obtained from the sense type, but also configuration indication is more accurate. So I was trying to pull the configuration indication, and it didn't publish. So I was like trying to make sure if it depends on hardware.
Okay, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any feedback from others in the group? Okay, I had 1385. I had a little note. I'm trying to remember what this one was now. Oh, this one I think is actually, the question was resolved a couple hours ago. So I'm not sure if we have, do we have Danielle on the bridge? I don't think so, but this was checking to make sure whether or not Danielle could take on the task, because it was previously assigned, I think. So that's resolved, so we don't need to spend time on that. I have one that we were trying to do some cleanup, and this is one I'm not quite sure what to do with it at this point. Okay, so we have one from early on, Vol 122. OF agent should switch to a polling mode based on a streaming gRPC method. And then this was, I think there was some cleanup. This was just mapping to-do items over to new JIRAs. And that led us down a path of, we have a few open ones, this one and 101, 91 and 33. And so I wasn't sure if there was someone who could take a look to see if these are still, the status is still correct. I mean, I don't know if some things have been done in the background and we just have cleanup to do here or things like that. So I've got a handful here that I need to try and find someone to look at in order to make sure we still have JIRA correct in terms of what we need and correct status. So I don't know if there's anyone here who can take a look at those or not. So 122 is one of those. And then the others, 101, we have OF agent should implement barrier logic. And let me go to the next one. Vol 91, OF agent should handle table port and meter stack. And then 33, OF agent should honor set config messages. And so some of these were from Ali, and Sean had answered some questions previously when we were trying to do some cleanup. So any of those folks have feedback on for me today? Or any insight?
The very first one with streaming with OF agent. Yeah, that one. That one is not. It's not done. That's more a story that needs to eventually be done. That was not done.
Okay. All right. So thank you. That at least tells me this one we need to keep tracking. So appreciate that. How about any of the others?
Can you look at the second one? Sounds.
This one?
Yeah, this one. I think this one is done by default. We are running like one request at a time in the OF agent, so
okay.
I don't think it's still relevant.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and close that one. I'll close that after. Thank you, Ken. And then let me go back to 122, find that list. Then the others, we had OF agent should handle table port and meter stats.
I think some of those has been done recently. I think even in 1.7 there was some of them that were done, like meter stats. I don't think everything's done, like maybe table and ports are not done.
I don't think VOLTHA Go has implemented the meter stats yet, have they?
I thought it did for as part of tech profile. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh,
You're still
okay.
on 2.0, so that's why you might not see it.
Because in the background, I'm porting that over to Go.
So you may just move over to 2.1 and then you'll probably see it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was from Nick. Part of it was from Nick. Wow, these are old.
Yeah. So that's why we're trying to see if things were still currently reflecting status, or if we needed to rewrite any we could close out. So, and then there was that one other one, 33. OF agent should honor set config messages. So I guess at the time this was written, those messages were ignored.
I don't think this was ever done.
Okay. So this probably is still a valid issue then.
But again, right? The ticket. Sorry, I fell. Yeah, I tried to get on this call and then I fell asleep. Jet lag. It is 3:30 in the afternoon in Milan, by the way. So as you can see, the opener was Ali, right? So is this JIRA still, as I said, that this is a very, very old JIRA?
Yeah, but the issue itself, it's a story. It's to improve the OF agent.
Okay.
So I don't think that improvement was ever done inside the OF agent.
And you think the improvement is necessary?
Well, so far we never had any issues because of this. So it is an improvement, but is it really like high priority? I would say no. But it could be something to look at eventually.
Can I make a suggestion though for this OF agent stuff? I'm very close to having something to put out there that's a Go-based OF agent.
Ah, okay.
Like maybe somewhat, like within the week after ONF Connect, and then maybe let's reevaluate what is there and what isn't there.
That sounds good. Thank you, Don.
We were going to be talking. We were going to be talking to Zach today about getting a repository, so I can go ahead and publish it and everything.
Okay.
All
right.
That's going to be a big question for the stabilization brigade, because that. What are we doing with coefficient? Is that for 2.1 or is that for 2.1? I'm sorry. I said that's going to be an interesting question for the stabilization brigade, because that's a completely new component implementation.
I mean, if nothing else, right?
They introduce all sorts of.
I mean, since it would be in its own repo, it would really just be versioned on its own. And if it's 2.2 and nobody wants to include it in the 2.1, then so be it. It's really just a question of whether to include it or not. But I think by default, given the statutes of the brigade, it's probably a 2.2 item.
Yeah, I would agree. It's basically a new microservice, like swapping out Python for Go, OpenOLT agent.
Yes, yeah, but that's. I mean, we were certain it needed to be in its own repository, just so it's not tied to anything else.
Any other comments or discussion? David, Jack, Don?
No.
Okay.
Just a quick question, maybe for the new OF agent Go. Is it possible to have some kind of presentation of anything improvements or anything that you have done on the OF agent? Because there's some limitations today that if you're already addressing them, that would be great. Is it possible to have some kind of overview?
Yeah, I think maybe a week or two after ONF Connect.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah. As long as we can discuss about
if we can get a repository in the next day or two, I'll go ahead and publish it, and you can start looking at it.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, so Don, I'll put you kind of tentatively on the agenda here for a couple weeks after ONF Connect, and then we can line up a time over the next few weeks here. Okay, other discussion? Yes. And Sean, since you joined a little bit late, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the group today?
So I think last week, no, on Tuesday meeting, meeting minutes, I did tell the members the meetup will be on Thursday, 7 to 9 o'clock. The room has been determined. I forgot. I think it's the Salon 7. But it probably should be on the schedule, I think. Or we can let members know about the exact location. It's 7 till 9 a.m. It's overlap with the breakfast, so we'll figure out how to do breakfast also. I strongly
Thursday, correct?
Thursday, yes.
Okay.
And right now, I think stabilization is the common topic to discuss. But if I really would like the members and community to provide the agenda about how we can effectively use this 2 hours meet up to establish some of the, I wouldn't say work, but at least to get sync up with things. So that's the update I would like to share with you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, let me check. Do we have anything else from the group related to the discussions today, or anything else we need to discuss with the community, since next week we will be canceling meetings?
No, next week we actually make meeting face to face, right?
Right. For those who are able to travel to ONF Connect, we'll be meeting face to face. For those who would be remote, then we'll be canceling.
Please cherry pick between master and pick between master and 2.1. Just found a case where I ran into that. Things aren't being cherry picked.
Okay, I'll add a reminder in here before I send the meeting notes out. Okay. Anything else? All right, I'll go ahead and give everyone a little bit of time back then. Thanks, everyone. And I'll see many of you next week. And I'll get those meetings cleared off, the Tuesday, Thursday meetings that we have scheduled for VOLTHA. I'll get those cleared off the court calendar. And then we'll resume these calls the following week. And that will be our final week for Sprint 6. Okay, thanks, everyone. I'll go ahead and close the bridge.